So did all these kind of resonate? I don't want to keep going on and on.
Yes, you do. That disc is frightening.
Yeah, I know. I did it. When I was thinking about getting it, but that's one of the tools in my arsenal that I get a lot of meetings on, because it really does tell you how to. Actually, I did run on myself, and I was like, whoa, this should be illegal. This is like,
I was like, you've stolen my data.
These are things that I try to hide from the world. Season 3, episode 1. And just so you all know, the theme, the principal theme is an international tour of big name international podcast hosts. And with me today is absolutely fits that bill, Sarah Jolley-Jarvis, who is an international best-selling author. Makes me insecure because I'm not even a best-selling author amongst my family members.
Why, God, why?
A speaker. She helps business secure more sales. She works with companies in customer service and retention. She's does sales training. She does a podcast, Selling Without Sleaze. I don't know what that means. No, I'm just kidding. And she's big on confidence. And so what we're going to do today, I'm going to show a little bit of my. Let me get back to. Oh, there we go. We're gonna, if you really want to get to know her, you're gonna get to know her right now, because what I'm gonna do for her is we're gonna view her personality.
Oh,
We're gonna view her personality.
Oh my gosh!
And
when you said that, I was like, "Oh my God, that would be awful." This is what I can do.
Is it Dash Jarvis?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Oh, why is it doing that?
When is it?
Let's see. Let's go there. Let's see if it does it for me. It always doesn't work out when okay, view personality. Come on, baby.
Isn't a massive fan of LinkedIn.
Okay, here it is. So Sarah Jolley-Jarvis on the disc prediction.
Oh, no way.
Spontaneous, dynamic, bold. You're between the dominant and influential.
I can't believe that, because that is actually where I am on the disc profile.
Sarah, a moderate GI initiator, tends to enjoy adventure and freedom with a high tolerance for risk and not much patience for rigid structures. That's at the prospecting target stage. So if you want to get advice for that, this is why you do it. How to get Sarah to book a meeting. Plan to follow up between now and the meeting so their excitement stays high. Suggest timeframes for them to pick so they don't have to schedule themselves. Use a relatable, animated tone. Pain points, rigid rules, old, outdated procedures, anything slowing down their creative process. So those are things that you don't want. But if I got you, now you're a sales opportunity, right? Where you're keep up the momentum and excitement of your upcoming partnership, talking big pictures when referencing what's to come, speak with their fervor about next steps. So did all these kind of resonate? I don't want to keep going on and on.
Yes, you do. That disc is frightening.
Yeah, I know. I did it when I was thinking about getting it, but that's one of the tools in my arsenal that I get a lot of meetings on, because it really does tell you how to. Actually, I did run on myself, and I was like, whoa, this should be illegal. This is like,
I was like, you've stolen my data.
These are things that I try to hide from the world. So anyway, Sarah, honor to have you on my show as guest 1 of season 3. So
that is a privilege, isn't it? First up.
Of all the accolades that you've attained, this has got to be top 5.
If only I had more words in my LinkedIn bio, I would be like, yeah.
Yeah. Just send me a Christmas card or something like that.
Definitely.
So let's start there, because I don't. If anything, I have stats show when the average person drops off a podcast, and so I like to keep it interesting from the get go. And I don't want to talk about where you grew up and what exactly you do. We can't get into that and touch on that. But let's say that we're at a happy hour, right? And it's different kind of people, different industries. You got people that are dentists. You got people that are professional baseball players or cricket, whatever you guys play over there, rugby. And they're saying, give me your story. I know you're probably a professional at doing it on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on all these social platforms, but what's the the blue collar, having a drink? What's the pitch that you give me?
What do I do? So I call this
what's your story? Yeah.
My dinner party pitch. So you're basically your synopsis of what you do. So I help people who are really good at what they do, but what they do isn't sales and marketing, to generate more sales in their business, and create the business that they were hoping to create when they first set out. I think lots of people can get lost on the way. But actually I help them to kind of get back into touch with where they were aiming at in the first place, what they would set out to do. And then I help make that happen.
And so when you were at napkin stage, right, of this whole venture, that you were a production manager, right?
I was a product manager.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
In pharma. And I imagine you and your, at the time, boyfriend or fiance or husband were at some kind of restaurant and doodling on a napkin. And were you articulating the value the same way you are now?
What they do, but what they do isn't sales and marketing, is something that that's what attracted me like a little magpie to this whole thing in the first place. So I was overhearing, I was on maternity leave. So the napkin would have been covered with child vomit, I should think. And I was on mat leave, and I was hearing these conversations going on from my husband speaking to people who are sort of in the online business world. And that was a world that I had not been part of before. And for me, it was a bit like letting a child loose in a sweet shop. It was just crazy, what was going on and the different claims people made and how competitive it was and everything else. It was a real revelation. But time and time again, people that he was speaking to, he works in lead generation. And the lead conversion side of things, people were frustrated. They're like, this person, they're better at marketing than me, but the product isn't as good as mine. They shout louder, they get in front of people more, and they're frustrated. And I thought, these people just need to learn to sell. And so that was kind of where the whole thing came from. And I was like, actually, there is an opportunity. I didn't want to go back into product management. The company were amazing. As you have my LinkedIn profile up there, they were really, really good. They were really good.
Psychoanalysis too. Your background check.
They invested in me really well, like really heavily, and they were a really great company to work for. But I couldn't do that job justice. I couldn't do that role justice and have a family. So.
You said you work with people that are really good at what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a meeting and you kind of assess that they're not really good at what they're doing, do you say, "Hey, thank you for your time, but you're just not good at what you're doing"? Or obviously, in other words,
I put it a little bit nicer than that. Well, the thing is, I think you can. It depends what they're doing and where they're at. If they're just starting out, they're not going to be as good as somebody who's been doing something for 10 years. But then their approach and the pricing and their offering has to reflect that. I think where it comes down to is lots of people love the implementation, but when you're in a small business, the implementation, the actual, I'm an architect. I like designing houses, but actually I need to find somebody who wants me to design their house. And so it's that element that, they'd happily draw all day. And they're really good at drawing, but they're in their office on their own drawing. Nobody knows about them. And so it's having that passion for their subject. There has been very few people who I've met who've had the passion for their subject who have actually not actually been that good. I've met lots of people who are selling something that their heart's not in, but that does tend to be they've fallen out of love with what they're doing because it's become such a ball and chain around their neck, or they're representing somebody else.
So in many cases, are you working with people that are passionate about, let's say, designing houses, but just complete, and I'm being kind of crass with my words, but complete imbeciles with defining the ecosystem of prospects and prospecting and acquiring new customers?
In exactly the same way as we're totally ignorant over designing a house. Yeah, like they've come with their skill set, but what their skill set is not the sales and marketing. And so, they are struggling to perform anywhere near as good in sales and marketing as they are in what they actually are a professional in.
And I don't want you to give away your secret sauce here because you probably have some competitors, but how have you found, and especially interesting to me, maybe since COVID times, the most effective way for you to define your ecosystem of the best potential prospects, and then prioritizing that list.
Is I've got a very clear customer avatar, ideal customer, that I target with the marketing that I do, the content that I put out, and so I'm very clear on who I'm aiming at with the messages that I'm putting out there.
But how did you define that ICP, that target prospect?
It was a bit of trial and error. There's a bit of acquiring clients that you were like, my God, you're a nightmare. And then there was others that were like, you get to the point, don't you, where I had a client the other day and they said, I was in a room and they invited us all to stand up and say what we do. And she was like, I looked around the room and I knew because of the work we'd done that my ideal client was not in this room. And she was like, so I finished my coffee, I listened to a few others and then I left. And she was like, even 6 months ago, I would not have done that. She was like, I'd have stood up there and I'd have given my whole pitch and I'd made myself busy with people inquiring who were not my ideal customer. And I think, it's getting to the point where you can almost see them when they're walking in the room. Yeah, you are. Yeah, you're not. You've got that awareness, which is built up over time with experience of the good and the bad. But it's getting people to draw in on the good.
And obviously, after being as established as you are, you can be a little bit more picky, right?
I mean, now when I have conversations, when I have sales calls with people, I'm very clear, and I do believe that it should be like this. As much as you can from the get-go, is that it's a bit like dating. Sales is like dating. It is a two-way thing. You might be super keen on that person when you first meet them, and so you might be a little bit more enthusiastic on the whole dating scene. But as you want the relationship to be even, you want the relationship to be a reciprocal relationship. And so if you're the one doing all the chasing and actually they're a bit of an arse, sometimes, they're not the person that you'd like them to be, they don't treat you with the respect, then, how far do you want to take that relationship? Do you want to pursue that when you're taking yourself, and the thing is with a client, you're taking yourself off the market, you're taking that time away from the opportunity to find somebody better, or invest in more heavily in the people that you have got, which are ideal.
Isn't that interesting that so many people use that analogy that dating is like sales, but these SDRs, these junior AEs, these new salespeople, for those listeners that don't want me to keep throwing around acronyms, that they have managers that, even though it's archaic and it no longer works, they have metrics that these guys have to meet week after week, and so sometimes they reluctantly they had to follow up with these prospects like 2 times a week, 3 times a week. I mean, if I did that dating, there's no way, like, hey, haven't heard from you. Maybe you're just busy. I don't know. It sounded like you thought I have a good product. Yeah, we don't have to, sign a contract this week, but maybe by the end of the quarter, just if I don't hear back, I'll call you in 48 hours. I was like, that's not dating at all. You're gonna lose that. You're gonna lose that deal romantically, and you're gonna lose it. You're gonna lose it in the sales world. But unfortunately, everyone knows it's like dating. But that's why I have my style where I bring in the admirals and the soldiers, is because there's the CEO that says you should sell it this way, but then you got the junior salespeople that have a boss that says, Eric, you need to get 20 meetings by the end of the week. And that's why you get the ugliness on LinkedIn, right? Where I'll reach out to you and say, hey, Sarah, saw your podcast with Eric on selling without sleaze. Oh, what an enjoyable 40 minutes it was. Hey, would you want to do a demo for 30 minutes with these 3 value points that have nothing to do with the podcast that you did and nothing to do with any of your needs, or it's just kind of like throwing darts in the dark, the thing. And it's like, what? Like, and it's like, because if the manager just is walking around seeing you do nothing, but sometimes doing nothing and strategically defining your ecosystem and connecting with the right people, not enough people, is the best, which I think is probably helped sales evolve in the virtual world, because you're at home in your boxers and you don't have to pretend that you're working. You can actually be on Facebook or throwing frisbee with your dog. Whatever it is.
Which also won't get you leads.
But I mean, do you think? Well, first let me ask you this, Sarah. At 10 years old, someone asked you, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" What would it be?
A vet.
A vet?
Yeah, a vet. Yeah.
You're still taking care of dogs.
I have a dog.
A vet, huh? How did that change?
The reality of what was involved, in honesty, the academic work and the grades that were required, the emphasis on science, which wasn't really my strong point, when it was more business, and then the reality of actually it's an awful lot of dealing with people, and it's dealing with people in a non-positive way. The dog isn't well, that's why it's coming to you, or the pet's not well. And so for me, it was about we've talked about energy before, but the energy around it. And it was like, actually, I'm going to tell that person how to treat that pet, and then it's going to go home and it's going to be treated. And a vet said to me, my mum had said to one of the vets which came out to see a horse of ours, and she was like, oh, she wants to be a vet. And he was like, if you're really that clever, then do something which pays you more. I was like,
you're like, okay. I really would like to go into an industry with way less integrity, and a kind of a gray moral compass. That sounds like a dream to me. You know what is? I have a couple of friends that are vets, and there's like this big movement. I'm not sure if it's in your neck of the woods, but there's this big association where vets, from suicide to quitting to having kind of almost like PTSD from the experience of losing these dogs, and then also having to deal with the families that have lost the dogs, and it's very trying. I've never gone down that path at all, but I had no idea that it's so trying on people. But anyway, I'll try to keep the podcast positive. There are cupcakes and unicorns.
It's the reality of stuff, and I think that's the thing. Sometimes as a kid, you've got this whole rose-tinted glasses, and when you start actually delving beneath, you think, what is the day-to-day? And I was like, no, actually.
Yeah. So there's if I looked at your website, and I did, among a lot of other things.
My disc profile, apparently.
Yeah. If you look at your window right now, I'm right there.
that is an effort.
Yeah, that would be a flight and a half. So what if I looked at your website and I did the header, the kind of the major themes where you help, right? You got podcasts up there, you got other areas that you help companies. If you don't know your business beyond a cursory level, it could potentially be lumped in with a lot of other companies that do similar things.
Yeah.
So I have two questions for you. Let's say you go to and it's probably less common these days because of COVID and whatnot, but there was a time when conferences were somewhat big, in-person
Conference.
Yeah.
Like with real people.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, now you'd have to wear like a spacesuit and just like
The
but
goldfish bowl on your head.
yeah. So and you know how it is with conferences. You go by the booth and you get like a brochure, right? And maybe the person reads it, maybe they don't. If they do, they probably read the front page,
Yeah.
So I have two questions for you. What would you like to tell my listeners, the audience, if the person kept reading, or if they were willing to go to a stage where they listened to what Sarah and her husband does for an hour? What would you like to communicate or articulate that is there? What's the secret sauce? What's the magic that you bring that you feel is really sets you apart most?
I think it's providing. So I'm very much around, I'm not into the scripts idea. I'm not into making people robotic. I don't want people to leave training or leave sessions with me and feel like they've got to be me. It's empowering people to be themselves and to communicate in their own style to help them create genuine, lasting relationships with their ideal clients. So, the insights that you've got that you can get from with your magic stuff. It's you've got that insight and it's people using those insights, using that communication. I think it said as one of the comments, the reiteration of sort of saying back in that person's language. It's that sort of awareness. It's you being you, but with an awareness of what you need to do in order to help that person and move that sales forwards. So I'm very much around generating your own toolkit. So the kind of plus point but restriction with what I do is that it's very difficult to help people with their business without speaking to them on a one-to-one basis and understanding a bit more about them and their ideal client, to help them create a toolkit that they can use, the go-to phrases, the resources that are going to give them confidence to sell their product without having to resort to sleazy tactics. And that's the without sleaze bit is, and sleaze is a chili scale. Some people are quite comfortable being that little bit more assertive and pushy. Other people will be like, wow, that is just way too much. And the thing is it's finding it's an appreciation that you don't have to be everything to everyone. There is enough business out there. There's enough opportunity out there, particularly when you're a service-based person. You want to attract the people that you can truly help and that you can work and connect with. And so by being yourself, but people really struggle. They kind of, and I've seen it, I've gone out on field visits and I've seen people be themselves and they're nice and they're normal. And then they go into sales mode and they're like, they've totally switched. The posture and everything has changed. And it's like, actually, it's how to be yourself and continue to be yourself, even during that sales process, appreciate what it is, but have those skills and those tools so that, you can draw on them when you need to. So, you've got only a finite number of needs that people, you can help with. So it's understanding the go-to phrases you would use to do that. It's equipping yourself beforehand, so it's not sort of by the seat of your pants. You're prepared, what's potentially going to come up, you've got the phrases, it's not awkward. You've got objections that come up, they come up on a regular basis. Obviously you're always going to get weird and obscure ones, but the regular ones, you're prepared for it, you know what to do, you know how to help that person succinctly understand. You've got the metaphors there, you've got comparisons, you've got data. And then you can help move that person along, so that's no longer a barrier to them getting that solution that you're able to provide.
Yeah. you kind of touched on this in the beginning of your response, but I think empathy is a lost art in sales, and self-awareness goes a long way. I started incorporating self-awareness. I meditate every day actually, and there was a point where if you said meditation, it was like nails going against a chalkboard. It was really, it was like I'd rather, I don't know, I'd rather, the what was that spray in the eye, the pepper spray.
Pepper spray.
Yeah, but so I actually started at 20 seconds a day and moved up, but it's been God, I can't even really put a word on it how full it's been, because empathy allows you to, I mean, it's the whole discovery meeting, right? It should be 70-30, 80-20, listening to
Mhm.
talking. And when think about it as like the farmers market, farmers market, you don't go in, you're selling, jelly, you're selling cheese, you're selling fruit. You don't go in assuming that they want the grapes, right? You let them
Yeah.
kind of, based on how they're looking, it's a market, just like it is market for software. Like, you contextualize um, how you would help, the potential of how you would help, even though it might not be a fit, right? But the empathy component of using tools, having conversations, um, there's so I mean, I'm a believer that there's no such thing as a cold call. There's so much information out there, um,
Mm.
that you should be able to reach out. Like I would have reached out. I'm not sure. I forget exactly how we got connected.
It was
How,
I
how
think it was
did we?
Collins.
Oh, was it Colin?
Yeah.
Colin's connected me to. Wow, he deserves a medal. Maybe I'll invite him to the Thanksgiving dinner or something.
At least a Christmas card.
Yeah, at least a Christmas card, a telegram or something. But there's so many resources out there,
Mm.
and these days AI, machine learning, automation are like these buzzwords that have become almost too big. Like you need a human touch. That it there shouldn't be a cold call, right? But so it should be easy to at least open the door to get an opportunity to get the empathy component. And once you have the empathy component, it could do two things. One, you could quickly, I like to spend just as much time qualifying as I do disqualifying, because
Mm.
you should have enough opportunity where it's okay if you don't want to talk to me. Like this,
Mm.
I always say this could be a 5-minute conversation, or this could be a 30-minute conversation. I hope it's longer, but if not, then save each other a lot of time. I can take a hike, and that's fine with me.
Mm.
But long story longer again is if you could get to that empathy stage of the sales process, then that allows you to adequately assess if it's a qualified opportunity or not. And for me, I don't know the secret to the happy to how to make you happy in life. I don't know the definitive secret to be a successful salesperson, but I have a pretty good feeling that empathy and self-awareness are a
Mm.
big component. I mean, would you agree? And what would you add to that list?
I mean, it depends how you define empathy and whether or not it incorporates that level of connection and that level of sort of understanding of each other, and the mutual respect. I think at the end of the day, you don't want to enter to relate it like dating again, but you don't want to enter into that scenario where they're not treating you as they should do because they're like, I own you. And it's having that confidence. You said if it's not a good fit, and that's the thing is it's having. I work with a lot of people who they will take on clients, even if they know they're not going to be a good fit, because they need the revenue. And it's getting themselves in that position where actually they can be like, you know what, it's not worth it. I am better off using this time resource in a better way. And so, it's having that, I think the mutual respect, the connection, and producing that connection, those connections that you have with people, whether or not you can help them or not, you said about the people you've interviewed and the connections you have with people that you've interviewed. And even if you're not going to have a, transactional, exchange of money for resource relationship with them, that doesn't mean that there can't be positives for both sides of having that connection. And some of the people that I've turned down, and said, what, I can't help you right now. You need to be doing this, or you need to look at that. Have been my biggest advocates, because they're like, this person actually didn't take my money. This was actually a genuine person. Unfortunately, there are other sales trainers out there, and there are business coaches, and there's this sort of merging all the time of different components and different things people do. But actually being able to saying to them, what, I can't help you, but what you want to do is you want to go in and want to look at this, this, and this. Is actually a really refreshing change for the industry that I work in.
So I want to be sensitive to time, so I'm winding down. I have some more questions, but we're getting down to the rapid fire stage. You have a lot of accolades that are either on your website or on LinkedIn or otherwise. And other than being a guest on my podcast, what are you most proud of?
Probably it would be the book. I mean, I just won a Women in Business award as well, which isn't anywhere on my website. So I don't know if your stalking picked that up. It was I don't think your AI did. But
at this point, I'm gonna lie and say I don't know as much as I do.
So I was really proud of that. But I think that did feed into the book. Just balancing not just how well it did, but just getting it out there, having that sort of mode of getting and sharing my approach to sales out there, and also the way in which I did it and the timing with balancing with family and everything else. I was a bit like, well done me.
So I mean, I've never written a book, and I feel like more and more, the more guests I have, the more I feel left out, and I feel like I have to write a book now one day. But
I don't have that toy.
I mean, but international bestseller. I mean, that's no joke, right? I mean,
no. It's number one in 11 categories over 4 countries.
God. And were you shooting for that when you?
I wanted to bestseller. The international was a definite bonus. It was a shot. It was 11 number ones and then 9 top 10 positions. It did really well. I was taken aback. I was really pleased. Yeah.
And collectively, like from idea to finish, how long? I mean, how long did it take, and how would you structure that throughout your day? Like an hour in the morning?
Well, I wrote it twice. So I originally dictated it. So I dictated it and then had it transcribed. And then I had to work through the transcriptions, which was one of the most painful experiences of my life. And then I wasn't happy with the outcome because it was basically just a brain dump. I personally, anybody who's remotely chatterboxy, don't do that because you just get everything written down. And obviously it's all written in the Word because it's the transcription, so it's really painful. Anyway, I got that. I did that February 2020. Wasn't happy with it. Didn't do anything about it until the June time 2020. So in lockdown. And then I spoke to the publishing guys that I ended up working with. And I'd spoken to a couple. And I was a bit like umming and ahhing, and then I spoke to these guys and I was like, you know what? Yeah, I've never written a book before. Why would I think that I can just write one? So I worked with a wordsmith, booksmith, ghostwriter person who
they were like, there's so many misspellings and the grammar is terrible. We gotta like start from the no, I'm just kidding.
It's fine. I've read it out loud. It's fine. And so I worked with one of those, and they kind of helped me through the process. So that was July time, August time. My deadline had to be done was the 26th of October last year, because that was when my baby was due. And I actually finished work on the 4th of October, and I completed my book at midday that day.
Wow.
But I had run a challenge. So in the May, I ran a challenge, which resulted in me onboarding 20 odd clients onto an academy program, which lasted 8 or 12 weeks, depending on which one they were on. And so that was the last time people could work with me in 2020. And so I worked with those guys, and as they petered off, as they finished their 8 weeks or 12 weeks, I increased the book. Wow. So the book was written, apparently I was the second quickest person ever to write it. But, that deadline, I could not move it, because I knew the baby I was expecting was number 3. And I knew that once you've got them, there isn't time. Wow. I'm under no illusion there's no time to write the book. So it had to be in with the editors whilst I was off on maternity leave. Then we launched it in May this year.
This is the time of the show when I wish I had kind of like a morning sickness pregnancy story while writing a book, and I
didn't have morning sickness whilst I was writing the book. I was just grossly
maybe that's a cure. Maybe tell women.
I was over that bit. I was just like huge and really uncomfortable, and it was hot.
So two final questions. One, mentors. Who comes to mind?
Mike Bontempo has had a really.
Who's that?
Really, Mike Bontempo.
Okay.
We worked with him. He works out of.
Can you chat that?
New Jersey. It's like Mike Buontempo. Beau. I've seen even some of his copy spell it randomly. Mike. Here we go. Buontempo. Bontempo. So he's based out of New Jersey. And he has, his ability to get us to focus and really go for stuff has been,
well, that's great. I think mentors are invaluable, right? I mean, it's like, don't reinvent the wheel when you can talk to someone and say
exactly, and they've been there, done it before. Another obviously real influencer has been Dan Meredith, who runs Coffee with Dan, Espresso with Dan, which is a huge Facebook community. I've worked with him.
So final question. Obviously, a lot of I'd say probably all my guests would agree with you. I think you should probably sell without sleaze. There's not a lot of.
Don't go writing a book on it, guys.
There's not a lot of people taking classes on how to be more sleazy in sales. But so obviously you're talking about a popular theme, one that a lot of people can get around. Is there anything in your style, your training, your expertise, what you kind of proselytize or preach, that you would say your cohorts might disagree with, or might say, I might take a different approach?
My most controversial comments are around, the things, having run ads, the things that people get most riled about are my comments around scripts and things like that, which I don't think actually for people who are doing modern day sales training are that unusual, that we shouldn't be using scripts. But there's a lot of people still very passionate over using sales scripts.
And you're anti?
Totally, yeah.
Yeah, even from like the first week on the job and when you're making cold calls.
It's a training thing. I think, if you've practiced it enough, like I am role play, like, I used to hate it when I was in sales, when I first started out, and I was like, this is painful, but working through and doing that. Because the thing is it when you are reading something, you're not activating all your brain. And then when somebody says something off script, when they say something that you weren't expecting, that isn't written in front of you, you struggle to respond as quickly as people naturally would. And you're taking away your own ability, even if it's your own words. I mean, nobody writes a full-on script to have an argument with somebody. You know, nobody writes a full-on script for other occasions. Don't take that skill away from yourself. I do encourage prompts. So I do encourage key questions you might want to ask, key bits of information you need to find out, because at the end of the day, you don't know until you find out from that person if you can truly help them. And so what information do you need to draw from that person before you're in a position to know, yeah, I can, or yeah, I can't. No, I can't. But yeah, full on sales scripts, robotic style. People don't need to if they practice enough.
I completely understand that. What I'm gonna do, I'm actually gonna I'm gonna copy this link. I actually made, I'm emailing this to you right now. I make skits for again, to get through the noise. I just emailed it to you. And I made this skit. It's called Sales Rep or Stranger, and it's you know, three of the four scenes are how not to do sales, cold calling to discovery to a testimonial you'll get on LinkedIn, and then one is actually good. But it's just an example I give to potential clients of, like, you know, that I get it, you know. But yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, it's better to be human than be robotic, because you can definitely tell when someone's being robotic. Yeah. Anyways, Sarah, it's kind of on 1. In fact, it's not 1 anymore. It's 1:05 my time, and probably time for you to be a mother and a wife.
Oh, they're in bed.
Okay, yeah. Well, hey, we went. I've never gone back to back before, so that was good. We really not. Maybe we should do it like every other day. I don't know. No.
I liked that. My only thing was that I was aware of stuff that I would normally, you know, like I'd say, oh, as you said earlier, and then I'm like, but you
yeah, I know. I didn't.
Yeah,
I didn't get as many. Let me think about that. But I'll give myself. I won't be a bit too hard on myself. But I really enjoy the time. I like it. I like it when it doesn't seem like work, you know, doing these podcasts. And this was a terrific way to kick off season 3. It'll be edited when my guys get the trailer, the short, and whatnot done. I will let you know. Feel free to, on your end, to do it whenever you want. But I got to go by their schedule, and they're in India. So would love the episode. Really grateful that I had you on as season 3, episode 1 guest. Yeah. And I really do hope that we keep in touch.
Yeah, no, definitely. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so you have a good night.
And you're right. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.